Today, I'm putting my nose on the line. I'm trying 5 brand new men's fragrance releases, but with the twist because they all have ruthless 1-star fragrance reviews. I'll share the harshest reviews I could find, test them all myself, and then give you the final verdict. Will they live up to the hate, or are these fragrance reviews just too harsh? Stick around because we're about to find out, and some of these reviews are just brutal. And we're starting with Dior Savage Eau Forte. Savage is a legendary fragrance, and Dior has done a great job of keeping the Dior Savage name going strong until now. Jason said, smells terrible, nothing like my other Diors. I'm extremely unhappy with this product. Wished I never wasted that kind of money. This one is a relatively expensive fragrance compared to most designer scents. He went on to say, I own every Savage fragrance, and this was a huge disappointment. While Isaiah went on to say, worst ever in the line. Listen, I know we all got different opinions, but holy guacamole. This is the worst cologne I've ever smelled in my whole life. Do not get this. Please, please save your money. He's begging your pardon. He's saying, don't do it. Don't do it. I don't care if they gave it to you in navigation. And then M went on to say, still not sure how I feel about it. Maybe I didn't spray enough, but nobody could really smell it. The packaging is nice, but I'm not sure I'd pay for this, which means he got it for free. I'm sure with specific outfits, it'll work well. As funny as that sounds, it just smelled way too alcohol-y for me. Hold on to that thought. We'll get back to that in a second. But is any of what they said true? Here's the test. 1, determine if it smells like alcohol on me. 2, determine if it smells anything like the other Savage fragrances. And 3, determine if this was a complete waste of money. So M said this smelled like alcohol, and I think we have to address the elephant in the room because Dior Savage Eau Forte is technically an alcohol-free fragrance, so as you would naturally think, I'm not getting anything that smells like alcohol. And then Jason said, this doesn't smell anything like the other Savage fragrances. And I think he might be on to something because I also felt the same way with Dior Savage Elixir because that didn't smell like them either, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. But at any rate, that one checks out. In my opinion, Dior Savage Eau Forte is really just an attempt to bandwagon the fragrance onto a fragrance that's already doing well. They said, hey, we can introduce a new fragrance to the lineup and really get some of the Dior Savage following to immediately purchase this one because it bears the Dior Savage name. That said, I don't think it's a bad fragrance, it's just not great. It's a little more mature than I was originally expecting, and it still has this nice spicy component to it, but not as spicy as you might think. And then it dries down to this earthiness, which I feel is relatively decent. Now, it wouldn't be my first pick, but if you needed an alcohol-free fragrance, then this one could definitely work. So it's not a complete waste of money, and for someone out there, this one could be a go-to fragrance. Honestly, for what it is, again, I say it's decent, and for me, it's getting a 3 out of 5 stars. By the way, every fragrance we discuss today will be competing for the grand prize. Whichever fragrance I give the highest rating today will have the luxury of coming home to one of you, because I'm gonna buy one of you the fragrance that gets the highest rating. So Dior, you're number 1 for now. Our second fragrance review comes from Paco Rabanne, and it's Paco Rabanne Phantom Intense, aka Phantom Blue. Phantom Intense is supposed to be daring and edgy, but according to this review, it might not be daring at all. Cuddle with Corpses said it literally smells like every other designer fragrance out there, boring and unimaginative. That one's gotta hurt. And then there was Tom BMW 91. He had a lot to say. Tom said another trash flanker to an already trash line. If you like a fragrance that lasts 5 minutes and has 0 projection, then just buy the original because it's cheaper. All right, so here's the test. 1, determine if it's boring and unimaginative. 2, see if it lasts longer than 5 minutes. And then 3, check and see if it has any projection. That sounds simple enough, let's get to it. Now, I just sprayed this fragrance, and maybe you can tell by my face, but I really do like this one, but I don't find it to be bold, daring, or complex. But I'm also not sure that I would say it's boring. However, it's supposed to be a thrilling fragrance, so Cuddle with Corpses might be right. Time flies when you're having fun. It's been 10 minutes, okay? It's been 10 minutes, and not only can I still smell this one with ease, but this one's projecting off of the strip and it's going to project off the skin. So Tom, I have to disagree with you on this one. The performance is there, at least after 10 minutes. So far, I think this one's dope, and I'm giving it a 3.9 out of 5 stars. Moving on to our third fragrance, we have Gucci Guilty Essence, and it has a luxurious name, but not so luxurious fragrance reviews. Now, I gotta let you in on a secret. This one's gonna be super interesting for me because technically I haven't smelled or purchased a Gucci fragrance since they had that blackface debacle back in 2019. Also, I think it's important to note that in 2017, Gucci Guilty EDT was my second most worn fragrance within my entire collection. So I'm actually looking forward to giving this one a try. But before we do, let's listen to what the people have to say. H4JDM says, this is disgusting on skin, smells better on clothing, terrible longevity, and don't bother. Got this a few months ago, gave it away to a friend. Poor Gucci Wucci. And then Sam G168 said, after receiving Gucci Guilty Essence Eau de Toilette and sampling it, trying it was nice, but not strong and felt like a cheap product that didn't last long at all. That shouldn't be synonymous with the Gucci name. So this person obviously sounds like they know what they're talking about. They've been around in the fragrance world, so maybe this actually will be a 1-star review. Only time will tell. Now, before we crack this thing open, let me just say that Sam had some pretty strong comments about this, especially after receiving it for free. So let's see if they're right. Here's the test. 1, see if it smells disgusting on skin. 2, see if it smells better on clothing. And 3, since both reviews that I mentioned had problems with the longevity, we'll see if it holds up. Let me spray it on skin. I also need to spray it on clothes. Now, smelling this one on skin, I would say that it's slightly reminiscent to the original Gucci Guilty and probably even the Gucci Guilty EDP. There's this slight clean, soapy vibe with this one here, but nothing that I would say necessarily smells disgusting. And when I say that this one smells like it has a soapy vibe, I'm thinking more of a luxurious soap. Thinking you're staying at a 5-star hotel and you're trying out the toiletries there. It won't be the average, it'll be a little better. It's not top tier, but it does smell super clean. Now, when Sam said this smelled cheap, I thought of something that would come out of my local gas station as a body spray or maybe even the dollar store, but I'm not getting quite that. Now, let's see if it smells any better on my clothes. Now, it has been sitting for a little bit, and I guess I could argue that it does smell a little better, but there's one problem. Both on my skin and on my clothes, it's not as prominent as you would expect it to be, which leads me into what they said about the longevity. Now, I only read 2 of the 1-star reviews, but I believe I have 6 that I've captured, and each one of those have a problem with the longevity on this fragrance, and it's already beginning to die down, and I understand why they would be upset. Based on what I smell today, the essence of Gucci Guilty Essence probably deserves a 2.5 out of 5 stars, especially considering the pending longevity issues. So far, it's been a mixed bag, but I haven't necessarily come across a true 1-star fragrance. Drop a comment with your thoughts down below because this next fragrance definitely is going to stir up some conversation. Boss Bottle Absolute is up next, and if you watch the first version of this video, then you know Hugo Boss Scent Elixir showed up extremely strong. And speaking of strong, Molly's241 said Boss Bottle Absolute is very strong. She said it smells strong like leather and essential oils like benzoin and patchouli, and I love both of those notes, so hopefully it does. She went on to say, I really didn't like it and wouldn't want my husband to wear it. Now, that's not very nice of you, Molly. Or is it a terrible job on Boss? So here's our test. See if Boss Bottle Absolute is too strong. Next, we'll see if the notes of leather, patchouli, and benzoin shine through. And finally, we'll see if this is something the missus will want me to wear. This one is pressure. Boss Bottle Absolute is by far the richest and most daring fragrance we smelled so far, and without a doubt, I'd say they did a good job. Now, to her point, this fragrance does come across as strong, but I think that's a good thing. Most of the new fragrances today are coming through kind of soft and almost like a pansy. Who says pansy? Look, this one's strong, which is good, and it's not overpowering. According to the fragrance description for Boss Bottle Absolute, this one's supposed to be the quintessential woody signature fragrance. That said, I'm giving Boss Bottle Absolute a 4.5 out of 5 stars. We'll definitely need to check this one out in a full review. And finally, we're here with the final fragrance on our list today, which is Chanel Allure Homme Sport Superlra. Now, this is arguably from the most prestigious fragrance house on our list today. Chanel and Dior are pretty up there, but I think Chanel has the most recognizable handbag in the world, so, you know, we gotta have a little bit of luxury there. Now, with a $172 price point, I'm really expecting this one to be better than a 1-star fragrance review, because otherwise it's going to be money down the drain. Now, Moulay said, I've been purchasing Chanel fragrances since 1995, and by far, Chanel Allure Homme Sport Superlra is the most disappointing fragrance I've ever purchased from them ever. Let me tell you, that review itself does not leave me feeling confident that this is going to turn into something that I like, but, you know, scent is subjective. There's probably a few different factors that lean into it. I think our test here is simple though, is to see if this is the worst smelling fragrance from Chanel of all times. I doubt it, but we'll see. All right, so as you might expect, this one is a super interesting fragrance because it has this lightness to the overall composition, which is by design based upon its name, but also has this citrusy component here in the top, but it's really mellow and kind of laid back. As I said, I don't feel like they went over the top with this one. More or less, this one takes a minimalistic approach. It's subtle, it's clean, and it really has this laid back elegance. Now, if you have an interest in cars like I do, then you likely already know Superlra pretty much means super light. And I would say that this one lives up to those expectations, and it's not necessarily a bad thing because not every fragrance is meant to announce itself to you or shout and say, I'm here. Some of those are meant to be met with elegance and grace. Now, I don't believe that this one is a flop, but I do believe it really all boils down to your expectations. Now, Mouye says he's been purchasing Chanel fragrances since 1995, and in 1995, I was 8, and I believe that this fragrance may be a little bit more youthful than he may have been expecting. But nonetheless, I think it still smells good. That said, I'm giving this one a 4 out of 5 stars. Ever heard that one man's trash is another man's treasure? That's exactly how I feel after smelling these fragrances. That, and based on the comments, the world needs a little bit more positivity. And in my attempt to spread a little bit more positivity, I put together an ebook packed with the essentials of smelling amazing. No matter if you're looking for a signature scent or something that makes a bold statement, this book has you covered. Click the link in the description to get your free copy today and to be entered for an opportunity to win Hugo Boss Bottle Absolute, the champion of today's video. Once you're done, comment enter, and I'll be back in 1 week to announce the winner. If you enjoyed this video, then click here to see more popular fragrances with 1-star reviews.